So now we're going to talk a little bit about alliances. This is a very well-defined, albeit a somewhat limited domain of cooperation. Alliances look at ways for partners to maintain their autonomy while they benefit from synergies and scale economies. So it allows you to do things like band together with your potential competitors to pressure a supplier to give you lower prices, to band together to establish certain standards or price points that a customer would have to almost accept. Band together for perhaps something like lobbying. Also working together to provide mutually exclusive relationships. I've talked about kairetsu within the stakeholder model previously. Again, strategic alliances builds on this idea of the stakeholder model. So you generate very deep, profound relationships with different stakeholders in the interest of some sort of a long-term benefit. These can, of course, also include things like mutual learning, exchanging of knowledge. It can help generate protection from powerful competitors, and that's a two-way thing, by the way. So you can look to ally with a potential competitor so that you're not fighting against each other, or you can generate an alliance with a different stakeholder to protect yourself from a very different competitor. And of course, I mentioned the buying and selling opportunities. Now, alliances, of course, are not without risks. First of all, your partners may not adequately represent their resources and their distinctive competencies to you, so you may not get the full benefit of the alliance. You can also get stuck in some sort of a useless alliance because you have some sort of a costly shared investment. So maybe you and a competing firm have engaged in some sort of a joint manufacturing opportunity, except for the fact that it's not profitable for either of you, but you're both stuck in it. You also are reinforcing a competitor. So instead of competing directly with a different firm, now you're working with them, and you might be making them stronger than you're making yourself. And again, because of issues of trust, there may be a lack of exploitation of synergies. So if you want to figure out whether a strategic alliance is right for your firm or not, here are 4 steps. First of all, is goal sharing. And you have to ask yourself about the strategic context and any sort of value potential. You have to be able to define the scope, the strategic objectives, and the value creation potential of this alliance. If you can't do those things, it's probably not a good idea to engage in the alliance. If you cannot define the scope of alliance, it's probably not a good thing. If you cannot define the strategic objectives, probably not a good sign for an alliance. And if you can't identify value creation potential, probably stay away from that alliance. Now, of course, this is somewhat debatable. There is some literature on strategy that says that, partner trust can be more valuable with alliances than contract completeness. Because when we talk about defining the scope, there may be those things that didn't come up that you didn't put in the contract, but if you trusted your partner enough, you could at least work them out. But that's really kind of a gray area of strategy. I'm just kind of doing that to tease you guys a little bit. You also need to ID issues. Is the partner an actual fit for you? Are they good for your strategic fit? Can their strategy work with your strategy in some sort of a mutually beneficial way? Do you have capabilities that fit? I.e., I can make tires, you can make axles, let's work together, versus I make cigarettes and you make cheese. Okay. Cultural fit. I could imagine that a firm with a low power distance would probably not be a very good fit for a firm with high power distance. There might also be cross-cultural issues. Maybe a firm from one country doesn't work well with a firm from another country because they just can't see eye to eye on a cross-cultural or transnational level. And of course, organizational fit. Looking at hierarchies and structures. Again, that also goes into high and low power distance. Do they work together? And of course, there's the agreement itself. Looking at the negotiation and the design of the agreement. What about the operational scope, the interface of the agreement, and the governance of the agreement? Again, it goes back to the thing, though, if you trust your partner enough, maybe this is less important, but you still want to make sure you don't take an unnecessary risk with that. And then there's the results. You have to actually be able to implement the agreement. You have to integrate, cooperate with your partner, and also the agreement needs to have some sort of a clause where it can evolve over time. So in our next video, we're going to talk about vertical integration. I'm looking forward to seeing you then.